Hello and welcome back to the Loyal Sons Show. That's at the Loyal Sons on all of your social medias. Follow us here and follow us there for Pitt sports content you will not want to miss. You love everything except West Virginia. This is the place for you. The Loyal Sons Show, a safe, very sunshiny place for your Pitt Athletics fix. Gentlemen, it is the Sunday after the Brawl, 2:14 p.m. as we sit here, and I frankly do not know where to start in the best possible way.
How about this guy that we all have as our backgrounds right now?
Who, this guy?
Mr. Eli Holstein himself, QB1. Can start there if we want.
Holy hell, man. The guts, the balls on a redshirt freshman.
The Pitt Panthers have a quarterback, a legitimate quarterback.
I think I might have to change Kitty Pickett's name to Feline Holstein.
Wow. Yeah, there were some people throwing around like words like Eli Holstein's like a legend, like he's a dog. And look, we've jumped the gun on a couple like quarterbacks in the past. I'm fully prepared to like plant my flag in those claims after seeing what I saw last night.
Listen, I said that Christian Veyer was going to be the third best Pitt quarterback of all time after a 200-yard performance in which he completed 45% of his passes. I am certainly willing to say that if Holstein stays 4 years, he's breaking every record at Pitt.
He ain't staying 3 years. NFL will be calling soon enough.
There's too many millions out there to be made, but we are going to cherish it while we have him. And, you know, his play won over Pitt fans the last 2 weeks. But yesterday, he showed us that the kid just has juice.
Oh, yeah.
He was playing with so much confidence, getting up, pumping up the crowd.
What the hell was that, sir?
Yeah, you all right?
No, probably not.
A little too excited about Eli. He was so juiced up, playing with so much confidence, completely unshakable, just put the team on his shoulders and didn't look back. What a gutsy performance.
21 for 30, 301 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. Officially 14 carries for 59 yards, but David, I think you did some math. If we take out the sacks he took, it would have been 88 yards rushing. I mean,
It's correct, yeah.
I mean, this is like a legendary performance in your first backyard brawl. I mean, 3 games into his career, and I would have to go back and watch it again. I mean, I've already watched the condensed game this morning, of course. But I mean, do you guys remember? Did he make any bad plays yesterday? I mean,
I think his worst throw was a ball that was tipped by a West Virginia defender that Kenny Johnson had the presence of mind to catch out of the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, there was no point in that game where I'm like, Holstein, what are you doing? Like, it, and
because we've all been skeptical. We're like, hey, he's a true freshman. Like, he threw a bad pick.
Redshirt freshman.
Yeah, that's what I meant. He threw that pick against Kent State. Not a good one. The one in the end zone against Cincinnati, not a good one. So we're skeptical. We're like, hey, just.
I mean, the whole first half against Cincinnati.
Yeah, but turnovers especially. And I mean, there were no dumb mistakes, but he makes plays that other quarterbacks just can't. Like, he's a dog. He's got that dog in him. Like, towards the end, I think my favorite part, we'll go through the whole game, I'm sure, but after the horrible third quarter where nothing could go right aside from a block punt, the offense couldn't do anything. There had to be a moment of the silence where he thought, like, screw this. If nothing's there, I'm just going to take off and do it myself. And by God, he was, and it was beautiful.
Absolutely stunning display of athleticism and leadership by Eli Holstein, and he deserves all the credit we're going to heap on him uh, for the rest of the week and into the bye week for that performance. But we're almost burying the lead here a little bit. Pitt was down 10 points against West Virginia with 3 minutes left, facing a 2nd and 30.
Mm-hmm. Right where we want them.
If you had told me, like, if you had laid that scenario out for me, I'd be like, oh, Squid's getting into writing fan fiction again.
This
I can't believe
this point in the game, if you look at ESPN's win probability meter, 3:18 left in the fourth quarter after an incompletion, showing it's 1st and 30, but I think it might have been second. That there might be a slight mistake there. Anyway, ESPN had West Virginia's win probability 98.9%.
We were in the stands, and we were looking at the clock. We knew we were down 10. The way our defense was playing, we were thinking, like, we got to score, like, quick. Like 2-3 plays, we got to be in the end zone to, like, have a chance. I don't think any of us expected a 40-yard touchdown pass to Reynolds into triple coverage.
Day Reynolds
on 2nd and 30, but by God, that happened, and everyone
getting pass interfered as bad as you will see.
We went from we almost have no shot to this can happen, and that's just an unbelievable play, Eli Holstein. Like, the presence of mind to know, like, we got to take some shots here, and then to actually do it.
I mean, incredible play by Day Reynolds too. I think first catch of the season. I think he was trying to get written off a little bit by Pitt fans and those who cover the team. Had kind of been replaced by Poppy Williams, who's looked very good thus far. But holy shit, man! Welcome to Pitt lore for the rest of eternity, Day Reynolds.
Yeah, I've watched that play several times at this point, and I'm still trying to figure out how he came down with that ball. Three Mountaineers around him. One of them actually gets called for a pass interference, and yeah, that's just absolutely unbelievable play. And then the defense comes back and gets a quick stop.
I didn't even cheer. I just turned to whoever was sitting next to me and said, "Did he catch that?" And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what?
During this whole sequence, I'm like hanging on to my parents like a child.
I said several prayers in the fourth quarter.
I might have prayed for the first time since Catholic school last night. So 2nd and 30, loft up a prayer into triple coverage, touchdown, ball back to West Virginia. 2.5, 3 minutes left. And you simply you cannot cede a first down, need to get the ball back. They've been running the ball down our throats all day. They've been doing two things that worked without exception anytime they tried it, and that is generically running the football or just throwing an out route.
Mm-hmm.
Two things, haven't been able to stop it all day. But what does Pat Narduzzi do? What he does anytime he needs a big stop, and that is dial up a blitz that gets home. And Jimmy Scott, the first sack of his collegiate career, forces the West Virginia punt. Pitt gets the ball back with 2 minutes left, which is an eternity in Cade Bell years.
I thought we were going to score too quick.
Stop there.
What's that?
Did anyone think we were going to stop there?
Yes.
I thought it was so unlikely that we would get a stop that like I reverse psychology myself into thinking we would, it'd be like that would be such a like Pat Narduzzi defense thing to happen. Just get torched all game by the same things, only for whenever it matters to most, stop those things.
That is exactly why I thought we'd get the stop, because that is a calling card of the Pat Narduzzi defense. He dials up the right blitz at the right time. You have to give him credit there. Even when all things are failing, he can dial up the right blitz at the right time. So I was not shocked that we finally get to Garrett Green for, I believe, the first time in the most critical moment possible.
Yeah, I thought we could get a stop because Garrett Green sucks.
Yeah, Garrett Green is trash.
And I don't want to spend too much time talking about Garrett Green because
He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve it, but just thought I'd throw that in there. He's pretty terrible.
I'd like to speak about this as well.
Okay, let's get into it.
Because we can own up to
Fuck it, we don't have an agenda.
Our bad projections on a couple quarterbacks. West Virginia fans, the last two quarterbacks they've had, they've said, oh, this guy's a Heisman dark horse. JT Daniels and Garrett Green, they both stink. Get out of here with that. Who's coming in next? They'll stink too.
Yeah, man, Pat White ain't walking through that door. Especially not with Neil Brown still your coach. And by the way, I was praying we would wake up to the news that Neil Brown got let go, because if we retired Neil Brown, oh my God, I'd be so insufferable.
So I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon or if it'll end up happening this offseason, but I love that we are the ones that made all the West Virginia fans like completely do a 180 from like 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, it's like, we can beat Penn State. This is like our year. Heisman dark horse. Neil Brown's got us going the right way. And last night, everyone's saying, oh, this is like year 6 of Neil Brown, and we're like below 500 in Big 12 play, below 500 against our biggest rival, Pitt. It's the same old shit. It's like, yes, we crushed your spirits. This is such a pivotal game. I mean, the backyard brawl, always a pivotal game, but for West Virginia fans, if you lost, like that's where you are. If you win, like you can convince yourself, like, hey, the schedule isn't too hard, you can have a good year. Same thing with Pitt.
Imagine how maniacally laughing at some of the West Virginia tweets from last night.
Yeah. Such a pivotal game, and now we're just, and we'll get to the outlook of the rest of the season soon, but man, did that, how I feel depends so much on how Pitt performs, and yesterday is perhaps the biggest example of that.
Last night, I said, like, when we were going down the score, the game-winning drive, I felt like the way I felt, I was like, Pitt could be playing for a national championship. I don't think I would be any more nervous or excited or anxious than I am right now. Like, that's the weight of what that game felt like in that moment.
Yeah, if we lost, the world is over. We've got nothing. Like, I don't care. Yeah, we're 2-1, whatever. We'd probably get back on the horse eventually, but afterwards, we'd be in the gutter worse than ever. But we won, and God, it felt like we won a national championship almost.
Yeah, and that's rivalries, man. Like,
yeah, that's the perfect example and the reason why this game needs to be played every single year.
Yes. Especially if they fire Neil Brown and have to rebuild the program, and we just have Eli Holstein the next 1 or 2 years, because then we can just beat the tar out of them. Just reduce them into a paste.
So we
enjoy it.
It would be unlikely we get a stop on defense, get the ball back. But once we did, was there any doubt we were getting to the end zone? Like, we all knew, hey, just need a field goal to force overtime, but that wasn't enough for us. We knew the end zones we were going to be, and it was going to be over.
I went from like death spiraling to like unreasonably confident we were going to win that game the second Day Reynolds caught that touchdown pass, because we had 75 yards to go, 2 minutes to do it, a lightning fast offense, a brilliant play caller, although we are going to talk about some of those trick plays earlier in the game, a young quarterback who's playing with the confidence of a 10-year NFL vet, and a kicker that could line up from the logo and bang it. Like, we are at minimum sending this game to overtime.
Yeah, when Kanade Mumpfield had the 23-yard catch that got us down to the 30, I believe. I'm looking at the game cast now. There's 1:14 left in the game. I think on that play, I was like, oh, we are going to score here. Like, we're not just going to settle for it. We are going to score a touchdown. And I was like, a minute 14 with how this offense is moving. We have all the momentum in the world. I think on that was the play. I wasn't as confident as you, Dave, when Day Reynolds caught the touchdown. I mean, that was big, and I was like, we have a shot here. But that was the play where the switch flipped for me, and I was like, we're going to win this game.
Yeah. And how often have we had that feeling in our lives about a Pitt offense? Like, outside the Pickett era, have there been many times where we were like, oh, we're down 3 with a minute and change left, touchdown's coming, I feel it. It's usually the opposite, where it's like, oh, something stupid's going to happen, or oh, we're going to miss a field goal here. You think the worst. That game, of all games, I just knew it. All it took was one drive for them to score. It was a horrible third quarter, rough end of the first half. It's been a while since the offense had any success. They had the drive to Reynolds, and it's like that's all it took for them to get back and firing all cylinders.
I don't know what Cade Bell's salary is, but he's worth every penny and then some.
Yeah. That whenever we hire that new AD, they're gonna have a couple priorities. Of course, retaining Capel and going all in on raising money for NIL. Maintaining and appropriately paying Cade Bell needs to be somewhere on that list.
Yeah, I'm sure the hundreds of millions of dollars needed for Victory Heights will be like a challenge, but whoever's in charge of bringing the new AD up to speed, they got to be like, you also got to account for us doubling our offensive coordinator's salary next year. So just pencil that in now. Like when the time comes, that's going to happen automatically. Everything else, yeah, we'll figure it out. But this guy's got to be here.
Unbelievable. So we march down to the red zone. Couple shockingly easy passes and a few heroic Eli Holstein runs.
They look like they're out of the Friday Night Lights movie and TV show. It's just like when you watch it on TV, it's like, oh, plays like that don't happen. That's just dramatic, bouncing off of guys, a spin, then a juke, then a hurdle. That's what it looked like last night watching Holstein break free.
Yeah, so Holstein gets us down to the 1-yard line, gets his helmet ripped off. Narduzzi made a comment about it after the game, but he probably should have been allowed to stay in the game. But you know what? I wasn't nervous. We had the sheriff, Nate Yarnell, ready to go.
I'm sure Nate Yarnell, wanted more for his last year as a collegiate athlete. And I feel for him.
Year. He does have next year.
He has an extra year? Okay. But I'm sure this year he wanted more for himself, but I'd be okay if he did the Nick Patty thing where oh yeah, someone's helmet came off, oh, Eli got a little banged up on that play. We just got to tape him up real quick. Will you go in there and just throw a dart, do something heroic? Now, it was only a handoff.
Right.
To Derek Davis, of all people, who I think might have 30 yards on 20 carries so far this season.
No yard bigger than that one.
No yard bigger than that one. And the place just erupts.
I mean, down to the 1-yard line. Yeah, Derek Davis in the game. Talk about Derek Davis. I mean, like you said, he had 2 carries for 3 yards yesterday, but one of those yards being the game-winning touchdown in the backyard brawl. Played for Gateway, goes to LSU out of high school to play linebacker. Things don't work out there, switches positions, comes back home. Has kind of been relegated to some short yardage duty as a tailback behind one of the best running backs in the country right now, Desmond Reed. But got to be so cool for him to be in the hometown stadium where you grew up and punching it in to give Pitt the win in the backyard brawl. I mean, what a journey he's had. I mean, he's still got some more time here, and hopefully we get to see more of him this year. And maybe he just kind of fills that short yardage role. But talk about just stepping up when you're needed.
It's like day. I mean, doesn't need to get another touch in his Pitt career to now be deeply embedded in Pitt lore.
Yeah, both of those plays will be in backyard brawl montages for the rest of the time. Every year before this game gets played on a college game day or ESPN or whatever you're watching, they'll have like a quick 30-second highlight tape of the best moments of the backyard brawl. And that's right up there.
Did you guys
Pat
have any...
McAfee can take his shirt off and stage dive and do other man-child things, whooping it up for the Mountaineers. And we'll just keep tagging them.
Did you guys have any anxiety looking in the backfield, seeing basically our second string offense in the backfield and
yes,
okay, let's make sure that this snap is clean and the exchange is clean and we don't fuck anything up here?
Yeah,
I wanted Holstein to get another touchdown. So I was like, put him back in and just let him run in it again, like QB power. This is his game. But when I saw Yarnell go out there, I'm like, I'm so happy for Nate Yarnell.
Yeah.
If he screws this up, I might feel bad. I might feel worse than he does. But, I mean, he's been around the block. The sheriff's always ready.
I admittedly in the moment, and I get why Derek Davis is your short yardage back, because he's roughly twice Desmond Reed's size. But also, I was just like, I kind of just want the best athlete on the team on the field in this situation.
Desmond Reed was banged up.
Yeah. Dudes did mention that Reed was a little banged up.
He was.
Yeah. Because I think Derek Davis pretty much played. I mean, he played most of that final drive, if I'm remembering correctly. Because I think in the moment I was like, all right, is there a reason why our best offensive weapon thus far isn't playing? But makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, it provides a little bit of clarity. But either way, didn't matter. Derek Davis plunges in.
And the big hogs up front made it easy for him.
Those big hogs, they didn't do a lot in that game to make us feel good. At least in that second half, after I think being pretty solid the first 2 games. But again, if you can just do something when it matters, that's all people are going to remember. West Virginia gets the ball back. Garrett Green, pile. Throws a pick. Kyle Lewis seals it, runs to the student section.
Sharks.
Oh. So we skipped a lot of the game.
We're brain dumping here. We're still
57 minutes of it.
Yeah.
You jump into the apex of the game. I mean, do we want to just each name our favorite moment outside of the final 4 minutes when that was like a game in itself?
We lived 1,000 lifetimes in that final 4 minutes, so it is a little bit hard to remember things that happened before that.
Yeah, we'd be here for 4 hours if we recap the whole game.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of this stuff can be saved for the Youngstown State preview when we talk about things we need to see in what we hope to be a 60-point win. And there are certainly things that need to be addressed, but as far as visuals from that game that I'm going to carry with me, I'm going to let one of you guys take the obvious one. I'm going to go with Eli Holstein being ripped backwards on that Desmond Reed touchdown, like body at a 45-degree angle going backwards with a defender on him, catching himself somehow, rolling out of the pocket across the body, finding Desmond Reed at the pylon for a touchdown. That was just such a, this isn't just a kid who's running a very advantageous system, which I've thought at points. This guy is a baller.
Yeah.
He's making plays himself. Like there's plays that Cade Bell just schemes open and he hits the guy. Great. But there's plays, there's nothing there, and the Holstein makes a whole lot happen.
Who about you guys?
I mean, I'm going to take the sequence where West Virginia's punter does a little skip to Mylou for 8 yards untouched to pick up a first down after it seemed like one of our first quick stops of the whole game.
Yeah.
West Virginia would always run for 4, run for 8, pass for 7, run for 8. And they get a few first downs, then we maybe get a stop. That time is hey, we got off the field quick. Then we put 10 guys on the field, and the punter does a little waltz up to the line and takes off. Then West Virginia, I mean, we saw it coming. After you pull off a fake punt like that, you've got the momentum. They take a shot. They score. Not so fast. Flag on the play. Coming back. Get another stop. And for whatever reason, Maverick Gracio just comes in unblocked and is like, oh, I'm all the way at the punter. Might as well block it.
He looks
right
like
back down his throat, and Brandon George and his convoy walk into the end zone
with Ghost Neil double middle fingering the guy behind him.
I did not see that until this morning. I did not know that happened. And then I saw Chris Carter tweeted out, did Isaiah Neal, Ghost Neil, just double middle finger this West Virginia lineman on his way into the end zone? And I was like, no, there's no way. And then I watched it. I was like, oh, that's absolutely what he did. It's such an awesome GIF and for future use for this rivalry. On the other hand, if that would have got called back, a block punt touchdown would have got called back because Ghost Neil double middle fingered a guy mid play. I think Narduzzi would have sent him packing this morning, and he would no longer be a member of the University of Pittsburgh's football team. But the refs didn't see it, so now it's just an awesome clip for the rest of time. What is going through your head just throwing double birds at a guy mid play?
I imagine
that. I've seen the one guy on Ohio State when he got thrown out. He was walking down the tunnel and he flipped off the fans, and that's crazy. But have you ever seen somebody flip anybody off mid play?
There's a pretty iconic one back when Tennessee was still bad, when they played at Bama and they were just getting hosed. Bama was playing murder ball, but they finally broke off a long touchdown, and not even the dude who scored, just another corner ran up behind him to the crowd and double birded. So some pretty iconic ones. But we can laugh about this one because he got away with it, and it's funny now.
Yeah.
He also got ejected, so we might.
Yeah, what a game for Isaiah Neal.
That was probably a ball don't lie kind of situation when he got booted for targeting. But I imagine they're gonna sit him down today and be like, "Hey, can you not?
Don't do that.
Don't do any of the shit you did yesterday again."
Yeah.
I think you're very good. You're a true freshman. He's not a true freshman. Is he a true freshman?
Redshirt.
Redshirt freshman. Like, you're going to be a stud for us. Just don't be an idiot.
I think that 3-play sequence sums up the game pretty well because it went from, if you looked at win probability, West Virginia was, I think I looked at it. I'm not going to care to pull it up, but it was like West Virginia had like a 48% chance of winning. They picked up the first down, jumped up to like 55%. Then they threw that touchdown pass and they jumped up to like 78%, but it got called back for holding. And then Pitt blocked it. And then Pitt had a 75% chance of winning. And then after that, we had like 3 yards the rest of the quarter. But it was a roller coaster, start to finish.
If Pitt hadn't, Cade Bell has been a hero so far, I think, in general, just a breath of fresh air. Give him the keys to the city, whatever. We might be MFing him this morning if they don't pull off that win, because he made some decisions yesterday. And even separately from the like 4 trick plays we attempted that netted about negative 30 yards, specifically the decision to go for it on 4th and short from your own like 40 with 30 seconds left in the half or whatever, and to have Kenny Johnson running away from the line to gain when he got the ball and gifting 3 points in a tight game, up 3, going into the half, about to get the ball back with an opportunity to go up 2 scores. That was ridiculous.
I don't know what happened on that play. I'd like to hear the breakdown from Cade or Eli.
Well, Pat Narduzzi did mention it. He was quite happy in the post-game press conference. He did take a shot at the referees naturally, but he was happy. He was so proud of the players stepping up. But the tone shifted when he got asked about that play call, and he just got like real serious and was like, "Yeah, that wasn't even close to what was supposed to happen. Like, that just poor execution. Like, it sounds like nobody knew what they were supposed to be doing, and they just all screwed up in some way, shape, or form." So what was supposed to happen, no one knows. Probably still a dumb play call, but made even dumber by like 11 guys running around like they had no clue what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Johnson, when I watched it back today, I didn't realize this in the moment, but Kenny Johnson looked like he was not expecting to get the ball. Like, the ball came and he was like, "Oh." Like,
and then he had Poppy Williams, weighs like $170 soaking wet, trying to block like 4 linebackers screaming at him. Like, what are we doing?
yeah.
So I was okay with going for it there. I don't like that play call. I like the aggressive nature. Like, hey, if we get this first down, they don't get the ball back at the bare minimum. But if we march down, get some points, we're getting the ball again, and we can really take control of this game. So I like that mindset. But my goodness, after watching the previous trick plays that happened, like you mentioned, David, maybe just like a little dump off the Bart, like 2 yards down the field. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I definitely was complaining after the fact, and it's definitely a great example of, if it works, you're like, "Oh, that was great." And if it doesn't work, you're like, "These coaches are idiots. What are they doing?" And that's exactly how I responded. But I do think you pretty much have to live with those types of things if you're going to, like Cade Bell, play fast, score faster. Like, this is the whole mindset of how the offenses ran. And I don't think, and it's kind of the same thing with the Cincinnati game, going for 2 there, trying to play the analytics. Like, I think you kind of have to take the good with the bad with some of this stuff, and you can't just pick and choose when you're going to be aggressive. Like, he clearly wants to be very aggressive, try to score as much as possible. So when things like that don't work out, it looks terrible, but you can't really look at it in a vacuum. It's like, this is part of what this offense is going to be. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to score every time they have the ball. So I think a situation like that is like, really is just a product of how this team's trying to play.
I mean, another example of how different this team is from last year. I don't know if you saw the stat. I forget who tweeted it. Pitt's running backs this year have more receptions than our running backs did all of last year already.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get a lot of really good, like, what WTF stats from this season, comparing the offenses from the last 2 years.
I've got one. Pitt has won more football games the first 3 weeks of this season than it did in 12 last season.
Same amount.
Same amount.
What'd I say?
More.
Feels like more.
It definitely does. More meaningful games. I mean,
if we're throwing around fun stats, another one I love is that since 2005, Pitt is 0-72 in games in which we're down double digits in the fourth quarter. And in the 2024 season, we are undefeated, down 2-0, down 10 or more points in the fourth quarter.
Can I read one more stat?
Yeah, let's just pour them on.
Chris Carter tweeted this one out. Eli Holstein is 9th in the country in passing yards and 4th in the country in passing touchdowns. And he's also been sacked the 4th most in the country, which is, it's not a good one, but
I don't like that stat.
yeah. So despite being sacked a lot, still really good. Spin zone.
Well, while we're talking numbers, you guys want to guess what Eli Holstein and Garrett Green's respective QBRs were?
QBR is out of 100, right? Not the
Correct.
QB rating. I mean, Holstein had to be like 88, and Garrett Green had to be like 40.
Yeah, Garrett Green's would be even lower if they correctly called OPI on his one touchdown pass there. So I don't know what it actually ended up being, but I'm sure Holstein was nearly double his.
Flip your guess. Garrett Green had an 80.7 and Eli Holstein had a 59.4.
How?
What? Garrett Green completed barely 50% of his passes, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Holstein, 21 for 30, 301, and 3 touchdowns. And his QBR was 20 points lower.
I think you're wrong. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at ESPN.
I can back up. I can corroborate David's statement that ESPN does say that. I'm also going to say that there's no way, like, that's not a mistake.
That's got to be an accounting error.
Okay, well, I'm looking at QB rating, which is the one that's like into the hundreds.
Yeah.
And Eli Holstein had a 187 QBR, which is quite good. And Garrett Green had 120, which is
not as good.
Not
as
good.
Somebody at ESPN must
about QBR. Now I want an answer on this, and if this is in fact the correct listing, that's enough for me to say that I never want to look at QBR for anything again, because it's just the most objectively incorrect stat I've ever seen.
I mean, Holstein had more yards, a better completion percentage, more touchdowns, and less interceptions. Like, what else goes into the equation?
More yards per pass, like.
Does getting sacked just dock you like 10 points a sack?
I mean, maybe sacks are a part of it, but like, I feel like they should be weighed a little bit differently.
All right, this is going to be some off-show homework for us.
Yeah. Look, can I give you guys a palate cleanser stat?
Yes.
Pitt won.
Pitt got its first AP vote today.
Wow. What here?
Wow.
Do we have the voter matrix?
I'll do some looking on that, but while I search for it, do you guys want to talk about that no call on the on West Virginia's touchdown that would have been the thing we led off the show with if we had lost this game?
I think that was one of the most egregious non-calls I've ever seen in any sport at any level.
Not only was it a terrible call, it was the biggest play of the game. It was a 3rd and 9, deep field goal range. I don't even know if they would have tried a field goal. I don't know how good their kicker is, but would have been a very long field goal. And it was a touchdown because they didn't call anything. If they call OPI, then they're back out of field goal range and have like a 3rd and 24. Like that, at the moment, we were like justifiably saying like that no call cost us the game. I mean, you can be don't blame the refs, players play the game, but that was like how egregious it was.
It was so bad. Narduzzi, shout out to Narduzzi, man. Like, I know we have our gripes about Narduzzi, but like, I love that his first instinct when he got interviewed after the game on the field was just to blast the officials.
Yeah. It's like, Coach Narduzzi, you just beat your rival to go 3-0 in one of the craziest comebacks of the season. How you feeling? Yeah, fuck the refs.
He said those Big 12 officials.
Yeah. Like, never change that. Never change.
Still pissed off about that thing that happened about 30 minutes ago.
It was also funny because they asked Neil Brown about that in his post-game press conference, and he was like, no, we got screwed worse than they did. We had that one touchdown call back, blah, blah, blah. So,
of course,
just a good old coaching pitch off about the refs. But I'm glad.
Yeah, one of those coaches is going to be employed in 6 months and the other isn't. So,
yeah. Who would have thought that's the way it would go a couple weeks ago? But God, am I so glad that a penalty or a non-penalty isn't the highlight of this episode.
Do we have any? I think we're saying any closing thoughts on this game. Do we just want to? I think we have some brain dumping to do.
Yeah, can we just list guys who are guys?
Yeah, I have one jumped right to the front of my brain. Rasheem Biles. Like, I think before the season we talked about how this year could be fun because we start to see the guys who are going to be really good, and like the future NFL guys and the young guys who are playing that kind of break out. Rasheem Biles had a few big plays against Cincinnati. I think last night just solidified for me that he's a dude and he's going to play in the NFL. 12 tackles yesterday, 2 tackles for loss and a pass deflection. That dude makes plays and he is a freak athlete at the linebacker spot.
Bruce Brookins.
Before we move on to Bruce Brookins, I would just like to point out that I hate the spring game. It sucks, but I love football, so like I'm always going to go and watch. But you always leave pissed off. Like, one of my 2 takeaways from that was Rasheem Biles is good. I remember he was just making so many tackles in the spring game. I did not expect him to be this good. He was everywhere. He was so fast. And this is like the exact type of linebacker that we want in this defense. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, if we want to stay on linebackers, Kyle Lewis is a ball player. Brandon George, I have not been high on him his entire time he's been at Pitt. That is quickly changing this year.
He made so many tackles too. It seemed like for a while McMillan was making all the tackles again. And then Brandon George stepped up and was making a lot of plays. And then you'd see Rasheem Biles get in the mix too. So I'll have to look at a box score, but I would venture that those guys all had like a dozen just from like the eye test.
Yeah,
you are correct.
You're pretty much spot on.
Oh,
Donovan McMillan had 13 tackles. Kyle Lewis had 13. Rasheem Biles had 12, and Brandon George had 9. No one else had over 4. But
okay, my eyes are pretty good with these glasses, I guess.
So those four were absolute tackling machines yesterday.
Absolutely. No, this might be the best linebacking core of the Narduzzi era.
Yeah, I think we all knew that this group had a lot of potential and that they'd be athletic and they'd fly around, but I don't think we knew that they'd be this good this fast. I think Kyle Lewis is just Servassier Dennis 2.0, like manning the middle, super athletic, just flying around making plays. And yeah, I mean, I think Rasheem Biles is. I'm having trouble like even thinking of another linebacker to compare him to because
I mean,
I
he's
feel
kind of like Phil Campbell in a way.
that's a good one. That's a
Like,
good call.
he's more like the speed size than like the size, like blow you up, but he's so fast and like he hits hard. So he was like diving at Donaldson's legs and cutting them out, hitting the holes.
Because he's
Like, there are a
really,
few
I
times I
mean,
thought he was shot out of a cannon.
he's really like a safety. He's 6'1", 215 is what they list him at. He played safety in high school, so he really is basically a safety that they drop down into the box. But any other guys?
Cruz Brookins, to complete that thought from earlier, had his first career pick. This is really the first game that he's seen action, and he looked very impressive.
Yeah, it's cool to see because he was a guy that they hype up during the offseason. Like, this guy's going to be good one day. And we didn't know if he would play much just based on the guys ahead of him. But it's week 3 in our probably biggest game of the year just on paper. And he was out there a lot.
Another guy who it's like he's had kind of a wild journey to get here. This dude was committed to Kent State as a senior at Steel Valley, and then he had a huge senior year, and Pitt pulled the trigger, and once Pitt offered, he basically committed immediately. But
Yeah,
what
alternate
a
universe.
call.
In an alternate universe, Cruz Brookins is playing for Kent State yesterday and losing 70-0 instead of getting an interception in the backyard brawl.
Kent State would probably be one of the worst FBS teams this year. Or sorry, FCS teams this year.
Yeah, it's like borderline malpractice that they have to play Pitt, Tennessee, and Kent and Penn State in 3 of the first 4 games. Like,
don't disrespect St. Francis,
well,
the D2 team that beat them.
yeah. Kenny Johnson, big bounce back game after I anointed him the next Jordan Addison, and then he had 0 catches against Cincinnati. Yesterday, he went for 5 for 79 yards. Also, Desmond Reed, receiver version of Desmond Reed. Nice little, I mean, we've seen him catch passes this year. He had 100 yards receiving last week, but like the second touchdown legitimately just looked like a slot receiver.
Yeah. It was crazy. They realized pretty early on that we were not going to be able to run the ball like at all, and just split him out wide and was like, all right, you're a slot now. And he was just great.
Other dudes.
And our receivers are
Eli Holstein.
Oh, yeah, forgot about him.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think our receivers are legitimately good. I don't know how they stack up against like other top receiving cores in the ACC, but I'm like very pleased with what we got now. And coming into the season, I don't think I was as high on the receivers as you guys were. I think you guys felt pretty good. I thought we had Mumpfield, and then let's find out if we have another guy. I think we can count on a lot of those guys now.
This is quickly going to be, I think, one of the most watched condensed games for me. This is the rewatchability of this game is going to be through the roof. Like I'm trying to think of some of my other favorites. Probably, well, obviously, Pitt Clemson 2016 is up there. Pitt UCF is up there for me as one we've watched a ton.
Pitt Penn State 2016.
Pitt Penn State 2016. Like even the last Brawl.
Brawl 22.
Yeah, Brawl 22 was good, but I was also like pissed off for a lot of that game.
Yeah.
Just with the Signetti offense and everything. And then we won it, and obviously the tip 6 is Pitt 6 is, I mean, we'll never forget that. But I think this game, like the amount of cool plays in this game that we'll be able to look back on, the blocked punt, the Day Reynolds touchdown, basically every time Eli Holstein took off and scrambled. This game, I mean, when we hop off here, I think I'm going to go ahead and watch it again because I just can't get enough. Like I can't get enough of the Ghost Neal double birds into the end zone. I mean, this game is
it's going to do numbers at like we're just going to be firing it up on the tailgate TV before games.
Yeah.
Wait, when we tailgate the Youngstown State game, do you guys just want to play the whole 3-hour broadcast?
Works for me.
Yeah, okay. Love game day, but and I'm sure there's going to be other good games this week. But let's just
none
rewatch
as good as this one. Yeah.
No. Yeah, the condenser is going to put up some numbers in our friend group.
Wilt Chamberlain numbers. All right. Any other closing thoughts? I think we could sit here and reminisce about this game for the next 6 hours if we wanted.
I just have one quick question. Do you guys think the West Virginia fans are more upset about their poor showing in the late fourth quarter or their poor showing attendance-wise? I was disappointed by the lack of Hoopies in the stands. I thought they were taking over. They were less this brawl than the last one.
I am so glad you brought that up because all we heard was about how there's going to be more of them there, that Pitt can't sell out a game, da-da-da. Shout out to the Pitt Athletic office and making people buy the season tickets and the mini packages. I think it kept a lot of Hoopies away, and it didn't keep many Pitt fans away. They did not, for a game that, we're only about 70 miles from Morgantown, and then you have all the, the Hoopies that live among us in Western PA. Yeah, they didn't show out like they bragged about doing.
And there's I don't know if there's any correlation, but the atmosphere of the game was a lot less toxic.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know, there's a fan base in this rivalry who's a much bigger part of the problem than the other fan base, but likes to pretend that we're like evil savages anytime they get chirped back. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. On one hand, I was a little bit upset that I wasn't involved in more trash talk, especially after the game. I think they all cleared out pretty quickly while we hung around and danced in our section. But on the other hand, I am okay with the fact that we did not have to deal with their utter nonsense. So they quickly got in their cars, sent some traffic on 79 South, heated up their squirrel, and went to sleep.
Yeah, while we celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And what a celebration it was. We were in the parking lot for hours after the game, crushing the remnants of our leftover beer from the tailgate. And
Chris Bickle came and hung out.
Chris Bickle hung out for a little bit. He was so jacked up. He just kept asking people like, so what do you think of Eli? We're like, yeah, pretty great investment. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we played country roads all damn night.
Mm-hmm.
Take them home to the place they belong. Wow. It is crazy how much better I feel seeing as we won the game and not lost. I don't think I could have pulled myself to the laptop for this one today.
God, no.
All right, fellas. Wow.
3-0 feels good. 3-0 feels good.
3-0 feels really good. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays. We'll be back sometime this week for a little Youngstown State preview. Those pesky Penguins.
Just lost
Pitt.
to Duquesne.
Wow. The Dukes put them up.
Mm-hmm.
38-34. The Pitt Panthers defeat the West Virginia Mountaineers in the 107th backyard brawl. Eli Holstein officially undefeated in the backyard brawl. A Pitt legend. Pitt man. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like this podcast wherever you watch or listen. As always, we appreciate everyone who tunes in. And hail, loyal sons of Pittsburgh.